Hi, my name is Harry Potter, and this is my All About Me presentation. I was born in Godric's Hollow, England. I'm 36 years old and I don't have any siblings. My wife Ginny and I have 3 children. Their names are James, Albus, and Lily. I work as a wizard at the Ministry of Magic, and I like to play Quidditch in my spare time. I want to start off by talking about some of my most important family relationships. These are my parents, James and Lily. They died when I was just a baby. I still miss them very much, and I often wonder what my life would have been like if they had raised me. I named my 2 children, James and Lily, after them. When my parents passed away, I went to live with my Aunt Petunia and my Uncle Vernon near London. I also lived with my cousin Dudley, who is their son. My Aunt Petunia is my mother's sister. The communication concept I will use for this family situation is Clifford Notorious' circle of words, thoughts, and emotions. In this model, our words, thoughts, and emotions all interact and affect each other. They are all interconnected. Our textbook states on page 343 that unhappy families include frequent criticism, negative statements, and egocentric communication in which family members do not engage in dual perspective. I definitely saw plenty of examples of these things in my family when I was growing up. There was a lot of criticism and negative statements. My aunt and uncle were very critical of me. That led to a lot of negative thoughts from me about them. Then my emotions would be sad and lonely or angry. I wasn't perfect either. Sometimes I played tricks on them or on Dudley because I was frustrated. And my words were negative too. That just made the situation worse. I think if we could have sat down and had some positive words with each other, that might have helped our relationship. I don't know if I ever told them how much I missed my parents. If they could have used dual perspective to realize that I was just sad and lonely and missing my parents, then maybe they could have accepted me more into their home. I always felt like an uninvited guest that they didn't want around. I should have been more positive in my words towards them, too. Maybe I could have used dual perspective to realize that they took me in when I had nowhere else to go. Instead of having negative words, thoughts, and emotions, if we had changed those to positive thoughts, words, and emotions, we could have had a happier family life. Our textbook also states on page 343, in happier relationships, members tend to communicate more support, agreement, understanding, and interest. Wood also explains how important forgiveness is to family relationships. When we have disagreements, it's important to be able to apologize and forgive each other. Now that I am a father, I make sure to treat my children with respect and try to use dual perspective to understand what they are feeling. I try to use positive words, show support, and practice forgiveness so that we can have a happier home than the one that I grew up in. What I've learned from this is that I want to be better at communicating with my children and use positive words, thoughts, and emotions in my relationships. For my example of conflict, I want to talk about a person I knew from school named Draco. He and I never seemed to get along very well. He made derogatory comments to me and my friends, and it seemed like he was always trying to get me in trouble. I blamed Draco for the negative interactions because he did act like a bully, but I think that my friends and I could have handled some of those situations better. The communication concept I will use for this example is the 3 different orientations to conflict from pages 257 to 259. Wood explains that there are 3 basic ways to approach a conflict. The 3 different outcomes are lose-lose, win-lose, and win-win. In the win-lose outcome, one person wins the argument while the other loses. In the lose-lose outcome, both people end up feeling unhappy. Finally, the win-win is the best outcome because both people are satisfied with the outcome and it helps to build the relationship. I can think of one incident in particular that I can use to describe these different outcomes. One day, my Quidditch team was scheduled to use the practice field, but Draco and his team came out and started to practice when it was our turn to use the field. We were all upset, so we started trading insults at each other. I think we were trying to get a win-lose where we would win and Draco's team would lose. We wanted them to leave so that we could use the Quidditch field. But instead, the insults just kept getting worse. My friend Hermione said that Draco didn't have any talent and he had to buy his way onto the team. Then he called her a derogatory word, a mudblood, which was very offensive. Instead of aiming for a compromise where we could have shared the Quidditch field or taken turns using it, we were aiming for a win-lose. Everyone's feelings were hurt and nothing good came from that argument. We actually ended up with a lose-lose outcome because neither of us got what we wanted. If we had tried to make a compromise and aim for a win-win outcome, things might have gone better. I learned from this situation that it doesn't do any good to insult someone when you are angry. That just ends up hurting everyone's feelings, and nothing really gets accomplished. Now when I have a conflict, I try to use better communication skills so that I can have a win-win outcome. Wood explains on page 259 that compromising to find a solution that is acceptable to both parties is positively associated with satisfaction and respect. Next, I will tell you about a friendship relationship. This is my best friend, Ron Weasley. We met at school when we were just 11 years old. He has always been there for me through some really difficult times. I even ended up marrying his sister. Ron is funny, a great listener, and always there when I need him. We've had some really good times together. One time we even took his parents' car out for a joyride. Ron got in trouble with his mom, but we had a fun night driving back to school. The communication concept that I will use for my friendship with Ron is Lillian Rubin's term, Friends of the Heart, from page 297 of the textbook. Wood explains that Rubin distinguished between friends of the heart who remain close regardless of distance and circumstances, and friends of the road who change as we move along the road of life. Ron and I are definitely friends of the heart. There are other friends that I met at school who I really haven't kept in contact with. We were good friends when we had classes together, but now we've drifted apart because we just don't see each other anymore. Those would be friends of the road. Ron and I have stayed very close over the years, no matter where we lived or what stage of life we were in. I have learned that this type of friendship takes work. We have to make the effort to communicate with each other and try to see each other. When we have a disagreement, we have to make the effort to work things out between us, but it's definitely worth the effort to maintain this type of friendship. I can think of one example of a disagreement we had when we were in school. I had been chosen for a special competition, and Ron had not. I think he was jealous that I was going to be in the competition and he wasn't chosen. I was also acting like I was better than Ron and not giving him very much of my time because I was so busy getting ready for the competition. Eventually, Ron came to watch the competition and show support. He realized that I needed some help, so he came and helped me out with the competition, and then we both apologized. I appreciated that he came to me, and he helped me, even though I'm sure it was difficult for him to get over that jealousy, especially with the way that I had been acting. That's why he's such a great friend. Ron and I have been through a lot of hard times together. I know he's always there for me when I need him. These types of friendships don't come along every day, so I really cherish my friendship with Ron. The next type of relationship I want to discuss is a romantic relationship. This is my wife, Ginny. I actually met her through my best friend, Ron. Ron and Ginny are brother and sister. She also attended school with us. We started out as friends because we met when we were really young. But as the years went by, we realized that we had a romantic connection. We have been married for 16 years. We now have 3 children together, James, Albus, and Lily. I love Ginny very much. She's beautiful, loyal, smart, and a wonderful wife and mother. The communication concept I will use for my relationship with my wife is engaging in dual perspective from page 324. Having dual perspective means that you can understand someone else's point of view instead of just your own. Wood explains on page 324, when we love someone, we want to feel that he or she takes our perspective into account when interacting with us. After growing up with my aunt and uncle who didn't seem to understand my perspective, I wanted to be different with my family. I have learned that in order to have a happy marriage, I can't be selfish. I need to consider how my wife is feeling and make sure we are both happy with the decisions that are made in our marriage. It isn't easy to do sometimes, but it is definitely worth the effort to have a happy marriage. I can think of one example in particular when I used this communication concept and it worked out great. I wanted to have Christmas with Ron's family, but Ginny wanted to stay home and spend Christmas with just me and the kids. I couldn't understand why Ginny wouldn't want to see her own brother and his wife. I was upset and we started to argue about it. Finally, I asked her why she felt that way. She admitted that sometimes she felt insecure about my former feelings toward Ron's wife, Hermione. Hermione and I are longtime friends. There have been times when I had a crush on Hermione. Ginny still worries that sometimes I have feelings for her, even though it isn't true. Ginny and I are happily married, and so are Ron and Hermione. I had to see things from her perspective, though. I could definitely see how she would feel insecure in that situation. So I agreed to a quiet Christmas at home. It actually turned out great because we had a lot of fun just hanging out with our kids and having some downtime at home. Now I try to be more sensitive to Ginny's feelings, and our marriage is happy and strong because of that. These are the most important relationships that have shaped my life. Here are the references I used for my presentation. Thank you for watching.